So guys, I want to talk to you really quickly about how I came up with this 6-week lifestyle Kickstarter program and why I've developed it as probably one of the best forms to create long-term lifestyle change. So my background is I've been a coach and PT for 5 years. Now, when I say I've been a coach and PT for 5 years, that's what I mean. I've been a full-time coach and PT for that time. As in, that's been my career, that's been my sole source of income, has been coaching and PT. So during that time, I've seen a lot of fads come and go. I've seen a lot of PTs come and go. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. Now, traditionally, I was like any other PT. I would give a meal plan, I would give an exercise program, a weights program in the gym. I would say you need to do this X amount of times, do this X amount of times. And if you go outside of the box in regards to nutrition and exercise, you're not going to make progress. And here's the thing, some people made significant amounts of progress following the meal plan almost exactly perfect, following their exercise almost exactly perfect. And that's all well and good. But what I would find is after, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever the agreed amount of time we'd spend together was, they would slip backwards. And you may have experienced this. A lot of people would lose a lot of weight. After the 12 weeks is over, over a period of months or years, they would gain all the weight back. And almost always they would gain it back plus more. And usually the quicker that they lost weight, the quicker they gained it back. Now, I used to blame the clients for this. I used to be like, look, you lack discipline. You lack willpower, it's your fault. But the problem is, over 2 or 3 years, I kept seeing this happening. I kept seeing this pattern, and it happens everywhere. Most people slip backwards after their time with a PT or during their 8-week challenge or 12-week challenge. And I started asking questions like, is this their fault? Or is there a better way to do this? Are we actually instilling and ingraining long-term habits, or are we sort of just, here's a plan that's unsustainable, stick to it as long as we're together, as long as I'm cracking the whip, and, that's sort of what was happening, which it created short-term change, but it never created long-term change. In fact, whenever someone stopped seeing me, they always went backwards, almost always went backwards, in a few rare cases where it doesn't happen, but almost always. And I refuse to believe that someone needs a PT or a coach forever. I don't believe that. I mean, there's numerous people who have lost weight, kept it off, and stuck that way for life. So what I did, I started asking questions. I started digging deeper into which of my clients actually kept their weight off long term and why they did that. And that's sort of why I've come up with what I do now, which is more, instead of here's a meal plan, here's some exercise, what I do in regards to, say, for example, the 6-week lifestyle Kickstarter is I work on behaviors and give more responsibility to the client, because when the client takes on that responsibility, they get empowered. They learn that they are in control of their progress. It's not me doing it. I'm guiding the way, I'm helping the way, I'm working with them, but they ultimately are the ones making the changes. And I feel that's something that doesn't happen enough. I feel the client believes a PT is doing it for them. Therefore, when they're by themselves, I don't know what to do. So one thing I work on in the 6-week Kickstarter program is instilling behaviors, giving a lot more responsibility to the client. Same with exercise. Now, I allow a fair bit of freedom in the exercise section. I guide people, but I ultimately guide them towards exercise that they will enjoy, towards exercise that they will keep doing forever. I'm huge these days on telling them, look, weight training is not the only way. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you hate it, you can't learn to love it. That's not a thing, That doesn't really work. If you do weights enough, you're going to learn to love it. Not the case. I mean, think of a food that you hate. Have you learned to love that food? you know? Have you learned to love doing the washing up every night? Probably not. You've probably done it hundreds of thousands of times, you know? So when it comes to exercise, I give a lot more responsibility to the client on coming up with exercise they enjoy. I'll help with it, I'll assist with it, I'll give examples, but it's ultimately up to the client. Same with mindset coaching. So that's another part of the 6-week lifestyle Kickstarter, is mindset coaching. Helping teach you the mindsets of people who in the past have made long-term success and kept the weight off. So this, I have found so far, has been a much more successful way in producing lifestyle change, in producing long-term results. Because ultimately, I'm not fixing you. You are making the decisions, you are taking the action, and you are owning the responsibility, which is quite tough at first. You know, oftentimes it's easy to go to a PT and say, do this for me, get up me if I eat shit, you know. But ultimately in the long run, if you take responsibility for those behaviors, that's the only way that you're going to make progress long term and keep the weight off and maintain that progress. You have to take responsibility, and this program teaches you how to do that. Peace.